Hello and welcome. Today we're going to dive into one of the trickiest and honestly most misunderstood ideas in Christianity. Why does it teach that we're all born sinners? Now, I know that can sound pretty harsh, maybe even unfair, so let's explore what's really behind this idea.
So let's just put the question right out there. Why this teaching that every person is a sinner from the get-go? It just seems to go against our basic sense of fairness, right? I mean, how can a newborn baby who hasn't done anything be considered a sinner? It's a great question, so let's unpack it. You know, for most of us, when we hear the word sin, our minds immediately jump to really extreme things. We think of criminals or people who've done just awful, morally bankrupt things. And we think to ourselves, well, that's not me. I'm a pretty good person. And honestly, that's a completely natural and understandable way to see it.
But here's where the Christian understanding of sin takes a different turn. It's not really about a checklist of bad things you have or haven't done. It's less about our actions and much more about the fundamental direction of our hearts, the default setting of our inner compass, if you will.
Now, this idea of a direction might sound a little philosophical or abstract, but it's not. In fact, we see proof of this direction all the time in the most normal, everyday moments of our lives. Let's take a look. Just think about it. That moment when you know you should apologize, what's the first thing your brain does? It starts cooking up excuses, right? Or think about a time you got caught doing something wrong. Were you more sorry that you hurt someone or more sorry that you got caught? We're all tough judges of other people's mistakes. But when it's us, oh, we're full of understanding and mercy for ourselves. It's the classic double standard. If I do it, there were circumstances. If you do it, it's just plain wrong. And the little voice that justifies all of this, it's always whispering the same thing. Hey, from my perspective, I couldn't help it. It's that constant, subtle pull towards ourselves, towards our own point of view. This isn't some extreme evil, it's just human. And this default setting, this tendency, doesn't just stay inside our own heads. It seeps into our most important relationships, right inside our own homes. What starts out as love can, almost without us noticing, start to feel more like a calculation. We start keeping score. We ask things like, why am I always the one who has to put up with more? Or does anyone even notice how much I do around here? We start thinking, okay, I did this for you, so now you owe me. See, love gives freely, but this self-centered direction, it keeps a running tally. And this is the really heartbreaking part. Most families don't fall apart because one person is a monster. They slowly drift apart because each person, bit by bit, starts making their own feelings, their own needs, the absolute center of the universe.
Okay, so we've seen this in ourselves and in our families. Now let's pull the camera way, way back and look at the big picture, society and all of human history. What you find is that this exact same pattern just gets bigger. You see it everywhere. In business, where people can become numbers on a spreadsheet. In politics, where truth gets sacrificed for power. Wars get started with noble words like justice and security, but they often end up being about control and greed. And when we point this out, what's the go-to excuse? Well, what can you do? That's just reality. And this leads to a stunning, really uncomfortable paradox. Just think about the 20th century. It was a time of the most incredible scientific and educational progress ever, and yet, it was also the deadliest, most violent century in all of human history. All of our external progress, all our smarts, it didn't solve the problem inside of us. And so Christianity looks at all this and asks a really challenging question. That reality that we blame for everything, the system, the way things are, what if it isn't some outside force? What if it's just a giant mirror reflecting the direction of our own hearts? And that question brings us to the very heart of the human dilemma, because it forces us to look at our own complicated part in all of this. It's always easier to see the problem out there in other people, isn't it? So we have to ask ourselves some tough questions. Do I talk a big game about justice, but only when it doesn't actually cost me anything? Do I conveniently ignore an unfair system if it helps my own kid get ahead? Do I get furious when I'm wronged, but I'm kind of numb to the hurt that I might be causing others? This, from a Christian perspective, is the great tragedy of the human condition. We are, all at the same time, both victims and perpetrators. We get hurt by the selfishness of the world, and at the same time, our own selfishness helps keep that world spinning. We're all caught. It's the shared problem that the Bible is getting at with this well-known verse. It's not pointing a finger at a few bad apples. It's describing the condition of the whole orchard. It's about that inward curve of the heart that affects every last one of us. So, after looking at our own lives, our families, our society, and our history, what's the one common thread? What is the real problem underneath it all? And this brings us right back to where we started. When Christianity talks about original sin, it's not saying you personally did some terrible thing when you were a baby. It's describing this inherited default setting, this fundamental orientation of a me-centered heart that we're all born with. So, from this point of view, humanity's deepest, most persistent problem isn't a lack of information. It's not that we need better laws or more amazing technology. We've tried those things, and they haven't gotten to the root of it. The problem is the direction. It's that constant gravitational pull of the human heart back toward itself. And it's right here at this exact point, this realization that we can't fix our own direction, that the Christian story takes a massive turn. It stops being a story about human effort and trying harder, and it becomes a story about grace, a story of divine rescue. So, we have the diagnosis. But that, of course, leads to the most important question of all. If this self-centeredness is our default setting, if it's a cycle we're all born into, is there any way out? How could anyone possibly break free and change that fundamental direction? And that question is what the Christian faith is all about.